Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. So, got some Cowboys talk. Just finished watching the Cowboys debut, uh, preseason opener against the 49ers. They take an L today to San Francisco 24-21. But a lot of positive things to touch on. Kind of did a little, I have a list I want to go down, positive, negatives, question marks, and in general takeaways going into next week. Week 2 of the preseason against the Cincinnati Bengals. But starting off with my positives, number one biggest positive takeaway for me today, Antoine Woods. Those of you who have been following me and been talking to me about the Cowboys since you can remember, I've complained about the lack of a real nose tackle in this defense. Even going back to the draft, I was upset about not upset, but the one thing I would have done differently was at some point taking a defensive tackle. They've been raving about Antoine Woods coming out of camp, kind of under the radar signing this offseason from the Tennessee Titans. And he looked the part today, just a big tree stump in the middle of the defense, forcing everything to the outside, commanding a double team, penetrating, very, very disruptive. Everything you want to see from a a good nose tackle. And if they can have that in this defense with the linebacker play that we're going to get from Sean Lee, but just keeping bodies off of our linebackers, whether it's Sean, Jaylon, LVE, Marshall Lillard, all these guys that we have. It makes everyone's jobs easier. It's easier for the defensive ends to be aggressive across the board. And it's something I've lobbied for a while. So to see Antoine Woods and the performance he's had line up with what we've heard coming out of training camp is highly encouraging for me. Next positive, Dak Prescott. The much maligned, seems like Dak Prescott, the most scrutinized player in the NFL since camp has started, comes out and takes his team on a 10-play, 75-yard drive and throws a 30-yard dime to my guy Michael Gallup, who I gave out before the draft. I'm going to continue to say that. And Dak looked sharp today. I mean, I know he only had one real throw to a wide receiver, but you're not looking for much other than to move the chains, and that's what he's good at doing. He's still, despite all the criticism you want to throw his way, he still had 28 touchdowns when you factor in his running ability. And I think that's something that a lot of people leave out with him or discount with him. He had 6 rushing touchdowns last year, 3rd and 9, I believe it was. Scrambles, recognizes immediately it's man coverage, and uses his legs to get a first down. And with him not having the safety blanket and Jason Witten, I do look for Dak to be a little bit more decisive running the football with his legs, and really challenging defenses as a true dual threat quarterback and embracing it. I think that'll help this offense, especially with us still trying to identify who our weapons are going to be. So offensively, him moving, just commanding the offense, moving them down the field. Nothing crazy went on. The throw he had to Gallup was good. People have been heavily critical of his deep ball accuracy and touch, but he led the receiver, and it was a successful play for a touchdown. Offensive line, to me, looked outstanding in the run game, specifically. They opened up with that big run, that massive hole that we could have driven a truck through, that Rod Smith ran through, and just holding up. I mean, I know Connor got beat real bad against Solomon Thomas, but that's going to happen when you're going against great players. Solomon Thomas is on his way to becoming a great player if he can stay healthy. He was a guy who was like, number 2 pick last year in the draft. They even said it was his high school teammate as well. But other than that, but I liked to see Connor. I liked seeing him recover with the twos and getting under his feet. He's still getting used to the speed of the game. He's going to have some plays where he gets beat. Everybody has it as a rookie. But you can also see with his feet and his ability to move, he fits right in with what we're doing running the football, how aggressive we're going to look to be at the line of scrimmage. Short yardage, I thought we were excellent all night, ones and twos with the offensive line. So considering the personnel going against, like I said, Solomon Thomas, DeForest Buckner, all these high picks, they kind of moved them around a little bit. So that was another thing that was very, very encouraging to see as a Cowboys fan. Moving on to the defense. Defensive ends look great. And I think that all coincides with the message that Chris Richard is sending to this group of being more aggressive, flying to the football. I saw that consistently all night, to be honest with you, with most of the groups we had out there. I love seeing Jaylon Smith. I thought he looked confident. He looked like he knew what he was reading. He looks healthy. He looks closer to the player that many of us saw and evaluated coming out of Notre Dame. Really liked what I saw out of Jaylon Smith. I think he's going to be a hell of a player that we use in blitz packages. And the other thing I really liked was how he carried the tight end up the field. When you're playing middle linebacker in the cover two, you're responsible for that deep middle, and he was hugged to the tight end's hip. It was a very difficult throw for Jimmy G to kind of throw over him when he's able to hug and utilize his natural speed to stay there. So that's a positive. That's a real big positive. Bo Scarborough. I know he struggled on the outside runs, but I liked the little angle route he ran, catching the football with his hands, turning upfield. When he's able to get downhill and square up his pads, he's still very, very intimidating, physically imposing running back that people have to deal with. And then you had a Darius Jackson, who's coming back to us, who also looked good behind the third team line. Like what I saw out of our backup runners. So in terms of positives, Antoine Woods, Dak, offensive line, aggressiveness of the defensive ends. Dorrance Armstrong Jr. is a guy that stood out tonight. And I saw Charles Tapper flash. DeMarcus Lawrence, the one series he was in there, I think he got like one or two hits on the quarterback. And Taco was getting out there and holding his contain, which is very important whenever you're going against the Kyle Shanahan offense. You know they're going to do those bootlegs and get the quarterback out. And Taco was really good at not just staying home, but pushing that quarterback to the sideline, making it very uncomfortable for him to get rid of the football. I liked seeing that from our defensive ends. They looked athletic and they played fast. And when they didn't get there, they got their hands up and caused deflections. Even the guys that were blitzing, it seemed like we were just more aggressive. I mean, I liked the safety. We've seen Kavon Frazier. He gets his hands up and gets a turnover to our new guy Thomas, who gets the pick. And it seemed like they were getting their hands on a lot of footballs. Probably an emphasis that's going on in camp when you see that many guys doing the same thing and good things start happening. The use of the wide receivers is the other thing I wanted to talk about in terms of the positive before we go on to the rest of the stuff. I liked how Tavon Austin was utilized today. The first pass you saw him catch was out of the slot, and then he moved over to the outside and ran a comeback and immediately catches another pass. And just not pigeonholing guys. I've said this repeatedly on the channel. It was another thing that Des Bryant had brought up in his tweets. But I liked how they move guys around. I hope they do the same thing with Cole Beasley if he's able to run those routes on the outside with the proficiency that Tavon showed us. Michael Gallup, how he was utilized today. He looked like he was getting some good separation. And Allen Hurns even too. Like he was a guy that played a lot of slot in Jacksonville, but he's 6'3" and he can move around. They like to use Terrence Williams on those kind of cross drags on the bootlegs and stuff. So just, utilizing all of your personnel and moving guys around and giving the defenses multiple looks. Even if you're running the same concepts, just lining them up in different places and having a match up. When you have people who are faster, the Cowboys definitely look faster on both sides of the ball. But at the wide receiver position, when you have a Tavon Austin who's a 4'3", 4'2" guy, he's going to get the defense's attention. And it's only going to open up stuff underneath for our quarterbacks to take advantage of. Now, going into the negatives, because there were some negatives. First off, they lost a football game, and I know it's preseason, and I know they were up 2 scores when most of the second-team guys went out. But one of the things that Jason Garrett preaches, rightfully so, is competing. Every snap, no matter what group is in the game, it's a mentality, it's a culture thing. You want to win football games, even if it's the preseason. So anytime there's a loss, that's a negative. Leighton Vander Esch, LVE, I was disappointed in his performance tonight. And that was a guy who I wanted to draft. I like him. I still like him. I'm not out on LVE at all, but it was a very underwhelming performance for his debut, in my opinion. He did not look physical at the point of attack. Quite frankly, sometimes he looked kind of slow. He did show a little bit of athleticism trying to lay out for that one ball on the sideline. where there was a penalty. But overall, I mean, he had 4 tackles that he got credited for, but didn't see anything where I'm like, oh, okay, that's my future middle linebacker. Honestly, he looks like a project right now. So hopefully he can be developed because, I mean, we can't keep picking projects in the first round because Taco's still kind of a project, even though he's starting to show some signs. I want to see I want to see more out of LVE. Hopefully, he looks better next week against the Bengals. Backup offensive line. Somebody, please tell me why Chaz Green is still on this football team. I just thought we were cleansing ourselves of all the bad energy and spirits and whatnot. And look, on my channel, I try to keep this analysis to strictly what's going on the field, unless there's a story that happens off the field. And Chaz Green is probably a good guy. I don't know him, but as a football player, all I know is I can't get that Atlanta game out of my head, and he's getting beat by second team DNs and stuff on the 49ers. Why is he on my football team? Why are they wasting the time coaching and like move on? I know you guys invested a 3rd round picking him. It hasn't worked. It's not worked. One of the things you don't want to compound a miss by wasting time on the miss. Acknowledge the miss and move on and spend your time elsewhere. The other brother that was on his knees a whole bunch of the time of the night, number 60, Martin, he looked like he was trash too. So it is what it is. They gotta try to develop some of those other guys. I would like to see some other people in the rotation. Backup offensive line did not impress me, especially when Cooper Rush came in. He was kind of backpedaling, which happens in preseason, but it was a little disheartening. Anthony Brown, Jordan Lewis, battling for that slot corner spot. I thought both of them didn't have a good night. Anthony Brown in particular, he still made all the same mistakes he made last year, freaking out when the ball's in the air, being too grabby, even though the one defensive holding thing was tic-tac maybe, but he's developed a reputation. He is grabby, and he doesn't turn his head when the ball's in the air, point blank. Doesn't know how to play the ball, and it's frustrating because I thought he did a halfway decent job of that his rookie year, and for whatever reason, even with new coaches in his ear and whatnot, he's still having the same issues. Now, I was curious because it seemed like he was playing ahead of Jordan Lewis, and I was excited to see Jordan Lewis, and Jordan Lewis gets in, and they give up a really big play. Now, Marquise Huff had a lot to do with that too, getting beat on the double move. Looks like he should have had help. At least that's what I think Jordan Lewis was expecting. But nonetheless, it doesn't look good with the tape that we saw. So he's got to get better. I would like to see him lock down that slot corner because we kind of have our big physical guys on the outside in Byron Jones and Cheeto on the other side. So we'll see how that turns out. The other negative, tight ends, we don't have one. Jeff Swaim, no disrespect, love him, UT guy, hook 'em horns. He's probably a third tight end, number 3 tight end at best. Then you have Blake Jarwin, who's a project. Dalton Schultz, who probably needs to add 20, 25 pounds of muscle. They have him listed at 260. I don't see it. He got blown up on a goal line play. Didn't really see him involved in the pass game. And then that actually leads me into my question marks. Where the hell was Rico Gathers? I mean, we talk about, we spend a lot of time talking about somebody that's never freaking played and has been on the team, going on almost 3 years now? I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, he catches a meaningless pass at the end of the game. He looks like he's gained a little bit more weight, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. But it looked like Rico was the 4th-string tight end. So I'm puzzled. I don't know where he was, especially after, he gave us a little bit of optimism last preseason with his performance. He was nowhere to be found today. So Rico was an issue. Backup quarterback. I think I might be the only person who's still concerned about that. Cooper Rush, has one of the great preseason stat lines. His stats were good, but if Dak Prescott legit got hurt in the regular season and Cooper Rush was thrust in there, I think we might end up with a 2015 situation, to be honest with you. My personal opinion, I think the drop-off from QB1 to QB2 and 3 is stark, and that concerns me. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I might be a lone wolf in that regard. But those are kind of my question marks. Takeaways, though, Dak looked good. I think that's what we were all kind of concerned about after the training camp reports, but he looked sharp. I think with protection and him utilizing his legs, having a better scheme, moving around those wide receivers, we'll be fine. I really believe that, especially when number 21's back there soaking up so much attention from the defense. And then Christian Sharp bringing that mentality on defense. Guys seem to be flying around. I think some people on the defense have bought in, like a Jaylon Smith, and to just a more aggressive approach, not necessarily changing what we do with Rod's Tampa 2, but just making it more aggressive, more turnover-oriented, people getting hands up, just deflections, whatever we can do. And then you have some other guys like Anthony Brown who are still struggling and haven't picked up on it yet. But those are my takeaways. We'll see what they get corrected. I also want to give a quick shout out to Jason Garrett and the coaching staff. I noticed that they didn't really have any targeting penalties with the helmet, which has been a big point of emphasis this preseason. We don't know if the referees are really going to call it like that in the regular season. That remains to be seen. But for us to kind of come out the game clean, that tells me that they've focused on making sure technique is good in that regard in their camp. So they'll go back to the drawing board and try to find another couple guys. There's some other things that we really didn't get a chance to see too much of with it being game 1 of the preseason. But overall, just excited, guys. Football's back. Our Cowboys are back. And we'll continue here with more analysis. Fanatic Perspective. Over and out.